Welcome to the ILTV News Podcast. I'm Mayan Hoffman, Executive Editor of ILTV News, and I welcome back our viewers. I have with me today an incredibly special guest, Ambassador Abby Lee, who's been in the country for 3.5 years. She's gone through the October 7th Hamas massacre, and now, of course, the recent Iran-Israel war. But today, we're going to talk about something that's not normally in the headlines in Israel. So I'm going to get you excited about this new conversation. Welcome, Ambassador Lee.
Thank you for having me back.
Of course, it's such a pleasure to see you as always. And I wanted to bring you in not to talk about Hamas or to talk about Iran or some of the things that are going on in Israel today, but actually to talk about Taiwan, China, and the United States. So recently, it was about a month ago, there was a big security conference. Our America's Secretary of Defense, Peter Hegseth, was there, and he talked about what we call the IndoPacific Nation. Can you give me some examples? What is the IndoPacific Nation, and why would America consider itself part of that?
Okay, Indo-Pacific in geographic terms, in a geographic concept, it means all the nations and islands encompassing or surrounding the Indian Ocean and Pacific Ocean. However, nowadays it becomes a concept for strategic and economic discussions, especially in the context of geopolitics, balance of power, and for these things from the landmass perspective, and also for the strategic perspective. United States is the Indo-Pacific nation with Indo-Pacific interests.
No, it's so fascinating. It's something that I hadn't been so aware of before. Now, why is it at risk, the Indo-Pacific Nation, of not being free or open? Because that was language that I saw Peter Hegseth use over and over.
I will dive into these questions from the economic perspective first. Nowadays, about 60% of global GDP are generated in Indo-Pacific region. If we take Taiwan Strait, for instance, and Taiwan in particular, Taiwan produce 90% of global chips, 95% of high-end chips, and also almost 100% of AI chips. So you can see that Indo-Pacific region is a critical area for the future modern technology and for the human prosperity. And in the strategic perspectives, taking Taiwan Strait, for instance, again, Taiwan Strait is a water that almost 50% of global maritime goods need to pass through, account for about 1.2 trillion US dollars trade need to go through this international water. So how to ensure a free and open Indo-Pacific region and the freedom navigation of a Taiwan Strait is of critical interest to all the stakeholders in this region.
So Secretary of Defense Hegseth, when he was at this conference, which I wrote down was called the Shangri-La Dialogue, and it took place in Singapore, he said that America's goal is to restore the warrior ethos, rebuild the U.S. military, and reestablish deterrence. Now, how does that actually relate to what you're talking about now, and specifically to Taiwan?
We see that President Donald Trump is elected to apply American first on the global setting, on the global stage, not only domestic concept. We have seen that U.S. shift is a strategic priority from the European theater to the Indo-Pacific. And we have seen that U.S. has been engaged with rapid reform in the military perspective, and also to revitalizing its military base and continue to engage with and to empower, to enable its partners and allies in the Indo-Pacific, and to do the joint training and to increase the maritime contacts in this region to make sure that the peace and stability and prosperity can be ensured. And I think that U.S. government has been sending out a reassuring sign, especially with the European countries, the EU. They are shouldering more responsibilities in the European theater, but at the same time, our friends in the Europe also know their interest also interconnected with the safety and security in the Indo-Pacific region. So they also come out to support this type of freedom of navigation led by the United States. And in recent years, our relationship with the EU and European countries also improve greatly. We also engage with some form of security dialogue with each other.
And one of the biggest topics, I mean, really since President Trump has come into office, has been the issue of the Panama Canal. And what President Trump has said is that he wants to take it back from the Chinese influence that's happening over there. Can you explain what that actually looks like in practice? First of all, what is going on the Panama Canal that America needs to take it back? And what will that, in theory, mean?
If we look at the global map, you can see that Panama Canal, Suez Canal, Red Sea, Taiwan Strait are all important and critical strategic points for the global maritime trade and also for the military deployment. And for the U.S. government, their priority is to rebuild the global deterrence. Then this deterrence will be rebuilt firstly at home and also at its backyard. So that's why the Panama Canal cage a lot of attention into this discussion. Also, I think it's a very strong signal to the friends and allies across the globe that if you depend too much on Chinese economy, you will be more vulnerable to the malign interference or influence. This will also make U.S. more difficult in making the future defense decision. You are going to limit the U.S. space or the options they have on the table when they come to defend or to help to assist at any particular scenario or any contingencies.
And do you feel that the Panama Canal then represents more of a military importance or more of a trade importance?
I think both. About 70% of goods transported to United States from Panama Canal also is in the backyard of the United States.
Nice.
So it's do have the strategic and economic implications for United States to make sure that Panama Canal is free and open and would not be disrupted by any particular actors.
And that 70% is predominantly coming from China or also from Taiwan and other places?
All around the world.
All around the world. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Now, what about Taiwan's role in the Panama Canal? How much trade are you doing on the canal, your country doing on the canal, especially vis-a-vis the United States?
I'm not sure whether you heard that there is a international shipping company called Evergreen that is a Taiwanese company, and it's like a number 2 users or client for the Panama Canal. It's not only highlight the importance of Panama Canal, but also highlight how Taiwan involved or interconnected with the global economy.
And that's especially, interesting, considering the challenges that Taiwan and China are having, but are obviously very much using the same space. And there's a concern, on the American side with China. Now, the U.S. says it's reorienting toward deterring aggression from what they call communist China. What does Taiwan expect the strategic shift to entail? And how do you think it differs from the way that previous administrations were looking at the situation?
Mm-hmm. We are very grateful to see bipartisan support on Taiwan's status quo and Taiwan's security grounded on the Taiwan Relation Act that has withstood beyond the different administrations and across different political spectrums. We see the U.S. commitment to Taiwan's security is rock solid, and we also very happy and grateful to see that U.S. Increasing its posture in Indo-Pacific region, including Taiwan, to counter any unforeseen episode or the scenario contingency happening in this region. And despite that, we don't have formal diplomatic ties or military cooperation. The U.S. has been assisting Taiwan in different forms, involving including the foreign military funds, and also to provide the needed weapons, especially in the asymmetric perspective, and also engage with us in discuss the defense strategies. And nowadays, they also come to Taiwan to train our soldiers and also take our soldiers to the United States to train together with the National Guard. There's a lot of ways showing U.S. strong support to its allies and friends in this region. In addition to the military support, we also see a very high-level political support. For instance, in the G7 summit, we see those global leaders, the G7 country leaders, they come out with the statement emphasizing the importance of Taiwan, the importance of a peaceful and stable Taiwan Strait. And this is also a very strong political message to the Chinese leaders that if you want to disrupt the current status quo, you also have to pay the high political cost. There are numerous ways and support from international communities. It again showcase that Taiwan's a critical role in the modern technology and also our important strategical position in Indo-Pacific.
Do you think that there might be some shift? Trump has had such a hardline stance on China. Could you envision that over the course of the next, few years of his term, that maybe there would be formal diplomatic ties with Taiwan beyond the support that you're describing?
We see that the Trump administration, they are doing whatever they can to keep all options open, to create more environment for the negotiation and to ensuring that the peace can be sustained through strength and also through all the diplomatic means. Our relationship with the United States is important for Taiwan, not only for our survival, but also for our economic development. And our economic ecosystem also important for United States for it to keep its leadership role in the modern technology, to help them to reindustrialize the countries more quickly, more efficiently. So I will expect the Taiwan and U.S. relationship will continue to be robust and continue to closely working together with each other.
Now, Peter Hegseth said something very interesting. He actually warned that China is preparing to invade Taiwan by 2027. From Taiwan's perspective, how real and how imminent is that actual threat?
Yeah, we have been learning from different timetables from the experts and also from the Chinese leadership. For us, we can tell that is a urgency, and we feel the threat is real. The threat is also a hybrid threat. If we talk about the kinetic warfare or the battle, is not happening. But if we talk about the battle or the confrontation in the cyberspace, for instance, the cyber attack, disinformation campaign actually is happening every day. And unfortunately, since 1996, when Taiwan have our first presidential election, Taiwan was under martial law for 38 years. During the martial law, we don't have any political freedom. And that is the year, the first time for Taiwanese people can choose our leader with the power of vote through a democratic process. Chinese respond that with firing missiles on Taiwan. And we have been living under Chinese threat for decades, but certainly is heightening up its pressure on Taiwan, not only from the military front. For instance, when Israel is fighting for the aggression of Iran, when Israel is under the barrage of missiles from Iran, our area is not peaceful either. I will show you very concrete numbers. On June 20th, at the high peak of the Iran's barrage of missiles attack on the homeland of Israel, Chinese military also sent over 50 jets and also 2 aircraft carriers to intrude our airspace and to harass our national guards and trying to increase our pressure, no matter is the military pressure or psychological pressure on our society, but also at the same time to distract United States and to complicate United States defense decision on Middle East. Nowadays, we always come out to call out a one theater concept. whenever there is a contingency in Middle East, there is a contingency in other part of the world. The same thing, if there is a contingency in Indo-Pacific, in Taiwan Strait particularly, there is a global contingencies.
Wow. So is there an actual connection, do you think, between what China was doing in Taiwan at that time and what Iran was doing in Israel?
That's is very likely, and we have been watching and closely monitor the situation, and also we keep a very close and smooth coordination with the United States Indo-Pacific Command, and to watch all the activities, whether it's the air activities or maritime activity from the POA to harass the Indo-Pacific region, while the U.S. is busy with defending U.S. against the expansion of Iran's totalitarian regime.
Wow, it's really fascinating. And I do want to get more into that. I have a couple more questions regarding China and Taiwan, and then want to jump into this whole idea of the Middle East. So, I'm wondering, the U.S. has actually warned countries not to become too economically tied to China for a number of reasons, not to be dependent on them. And you kind of alluded to many of those before. But my understanding is that Taiwan has very, very close economic ties with China, despite all the challenges that we just discussed. So how does Taiwan manage to have the dual challenge of the economic interdependence that you have, and yet this military threat, whether it's the cyber or even potentially this kinetic threat, as we talked about, by 2027?
Yeah, indeed. In the past, Taiwan did have very close trade relationship with China. We used to have about 1 million Taiwanese business people living in China, but we see how China weaponized economy tools. We know it's urgent to diversify our sources of trade partners, our sources for investment. For instance, Taiwan's leading semiconductor company, TSMC. They also they invest in China previously. However, right now they increase its investment in the United States, in Germany, in Japan. In United States, they already announced the 160 billion US dollars investment commitment. That is the largest greenfield foreign investment in U.S. history. And you see Taiwan, small country,
Right.
and one single company can invest that big amount of money. It not only showcase the importance relationship between Taiwan and United States, but also highlight it is important to raise awareness of Chinese coercion, and it is important for every countries to diversify its trade partners and to seek for the right path for the diversification. In 2018, that is the peak of Taiwan's trade relationship with China. At that time, about 80% of our foreign direct investment went to China. But right now, last year, we decreased the amount greatly, only down to the 20%.
Wow, from 80 to 20, that's
Yes.
remarkable.
Yeah.
It's a very big difference, and I'm sure something the United States would certainly be supporting. Remind me, it's about 9 million people in Taiwan. Do I remember the number correctly? How many people live in Taiwan?
23.5 million.
Oh, 23.5 million. For some reason, I remember saying something about it being close to the size of Israel, but it sounds like it's about double and a little more.
The land mass is close to
Okay.
Israel, but population is much larger than Israel.
Oh, wow. Yeah, okay, that's a very big difference. Now, China uses these gray zone tactics, hybrid warfare, and cyber attacks as part of the pressure campaign. What kind of daily aggression are you facing, that we haven't talked about so far in the conversation? Are there other things that the world should be aware of that Taiwan is facing from China at the current time?
Yes, that's a very important question. Taiwanese people has been living under threat for decades. Chinese military intimidation is not news for us, unfortunately. But another gray zone threat, hybrid threat from China, also cause a lot of attentions, not only from Taiwan, but also from the international community. For instance, I mentioned about the cybersecurity. There are about 2.5 million cyber attacks daily, every day from China on Taiwan.
Give me an example of what those look like.
They will use like a denial of access to disrupt our website of the government agencies and trying to impose of the urgency or sense of emergency on our government, and also the communication. Nowadays we see that the Chinese vessels, even though it's a commercial boat, they use the anchor to cut our undersea cables, trying to disrupt our communication. And also the disinformation campaign, they trying to take advantage of our free media environment to fortify, to amplify its own narratives, and also to promote the propaganda, not only in Taiwan, but also internationally. We see there's global challenges, not only on Taiwan, but also the global communities also feel the same challenges of those gray zone threats.
Now, you started to mention about the connection between Israel and Taiwan, the situation that's going on in the Middle East. Of course, now we have a ceasefire with Iran, but we don't know how long that's going to last. And we also don't know yet really what was accomplished during that war. Israel and Taiwan are essentially both then facing existential threats, from these powerful neighbors that are rejecting their sovereignty, right? All of our neighbors here in Israel seem to think that we don't have a right to exist, much of the world. In fact, Taiwan is facing that same threat from China. Do you see then parallels in how we can navigate the situations together diplomatically in terms of building, resilience? How do you envision that? And is there anything that you think Taiwan can learn from us now that you've been here for 3.5 years, and vice versa?
That's a very important question. We don't have formal diplomatic ties with every countries in our neighborhood. It's getting more and more. It's not easy for us to have the overt military cooperation with our neighboring countries. But we know that more and more countries, they come out to support Taiwan politically and in the international arena. Despite of diplomatic isolation, we have been working with every country who is willing to step out, who is willing to work together with Taiwan to preserve the status quo, to preserve the rule of order that we know nowadays. We are happy to work with anyone. I also want to take this opportunity to highlight that the Chinese One China principle is not a diplomacy. Actually, is a war design for China to create a facade of legitimacy to militarily contact and to coerce Taiwan. It's just like there has been treated United Nations Resolution 2758 to claim its sovereignty over Taiwan, but in fact, they never ruled Taiwan for a single day. So once again, we would like to call upon the international society to work together with Taiwan to defend the cherished way of life and to keep the supply chain flow. We understand that we are at a critical moment, but there are a lot of things we can work together, and it's a time to speed up our cooperation. Collaboration and cooperation are the keys for us in meeting numerous challenges. And talking about the cooperation with Israel, there are a lot of parallels we can draw. We can draw from our history background. Two countries, we are facing the existential threat from day one. And two countries are not in an easy environment, but the resilience of the society and the modern defense technology, the determination, the will of people to defend the homeland, to fight for the survival is the inspiration for Taiwan. And a lot of things to learn from Israel. Of course, your defense technology, the amazing air defense Iron Dome is well known by every Taiwanese in right now. But we know that the success of defense is not only depend on military means; it also involves the society, the societal resilience. So that's why Taiwan we also on the process to fortify our community, the resilience, at the same time to strengthen our national capabilities in a lot of less sensitive areas such as cybersecurity, and disinformation, countering disinformation are the areas that Taiwan and Israel can work together and can learn from each other.
For sure. And actually, the U.S. Secretary of Defense actually called Israel a model ally, and giving Israel's advanced defense technology that you just talked about, the asymmetric warfare that we've been, or war that we've been fighting. Tell me a little bit more just as we wrap up in the last few minutes. I know you and I have had a conversation before about the lack of anti-Semitism in Taiwan, the close ties, even though Israel also has not formally, formalized diplomatic ties with Taiwan. We have very close relations with the country, certainly in terms of trade. And, your office is doing quite a bit here on the grounds. But talk about, just briefly to wrap up, where we can deepen cooperation. What do you see as the next steps for the relation between Israel and Taiwan?
First of all, I would like to address the United States handling of Middle East. The handling this time send out very strong signal of its security commitment to its allies and friends. But for Taiwan, we know we have to defend ourselves for others to help us. And we also know that Taiwan alone is not enough. We call upon more friends to politically, morally support us. And in terms of Taiwan and Israel relations, we're looking for more cooperations in the less sensitive area, including the whole of society resilience, the societal preparedness to any emergency that can be natural disaster as well. Also to fortify the cybersecurity and communication resilience. That is also the strong area that Israel showcased to the rest of the world. There are a lot of ways, pragmatic ways, viable ways to work together. And again, it's a one war theater. Whenever there's a contingency in Taiwan, there's a contingency to the rest of the world. And we always feel that no country is too small to deserve freedom, and no country is too small to choose on the right side of history. Taiwan will continue to support our allies and friends and to serve as a force for good, reliable partners in global geopolitics and also the geo-economic perspectives.
Wow. Well, Ambassador Abili, I really appreciate you coming here and sharing your thoughts with us on such an important topic that I think our viewers don't always get to hear about and experience. And certainly your final messages help to build resilience and strength here for the people of Israel. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me again here. I always cherish the opportunity to fortify the understanding of Taiwan. And it's a critical time for Taiwan. Thank you for demonstrating your support for Taiwan. I thank all the audience pay attention to Taiwan's issues, and we appreciate all the support.